Okay, folks, we're going to get underway here. We are having issues with Facebook, so I don't know what's going on there, but we are going to record this meeting and we'll upload it to Facebook after the fact. So still be an opportunity for people who couldn't make it this morning to view the meeting after the fact. So thank you for bearing with us, and welcome to the 2021 Fernie Chamber AGM. Anita, I can see you. I just want to get a quick, you can hear me okay and everything's good? Perfect. All right, so before we get started today, I'd like to acknowledge that we are virtually gathered today on the traditional homeland of the Ktunaxa people. And I would like to thank our sponsors for this year's AGM. So big shout out to Birdhouse Roofing, to Patty's Party Tent Rentals, Kukanusa Lake Campsite and Marina, as well as our community member builders, Island Lake Lodge and Fernie Fox Hotel. So thank you so much for making today possible. I'm trying out my new glasses today, so maybe that's why I couldn't get Facebook working, but we'll see how we go here. All right, so I did want to, we have quite a few special guests on the call with us today, and I wanted to introduce them. So we have Chief Heidi Gravel from Tobacco Plains. We have MP Rob Morrison, now MP for Kootenay, Columbia. We have our MLA Tom Shapitka for Kootenay East, and we also have the Mayor of Fernie, Ange Kuliza, who are going to give some opening remarks in just a second here. And then later on in the presentation, we're also going to hear from Kevin Allen, who is currently the chair of the Fernie Pride Society. We'll also be hearing from Cora Deschettes, who's an advisor with the Chamber Group Insurance Program. And we'll also have a presentation from the CEO and president of the College of the Rockies, Mr. Paul Vogt. So a pretty packed agenda today, so we're gonna get straight into it. And I would ask if we could start off with Chief Heidi Gravel from Tobacco Plains. Chief Heidi, if you're there and would like to unmute yourself and say a few words, please go ahead.
Kisukukit, husukit kukni kuam nausan mietki. Ukaklik Heidi Gravel, currently Nisukin for Yakit Aknukliet, located just 40 minutes south of Fernie. So welcome everybody to the traditional Ktunaxa territory. And I know for us at Yakit Aknukliet, we do a lot of our business in Fernie and have a high presence of utilizing services and such in the city of Fernie, and also slowly working with the city to have more of a overall Ktunaxa presence and educational understanding for visitors. So for the community occupants, but as well as visitors coming into the traditional territory. So thank you for being here today, and it's great working with you guys, and we look forward to continuing the relationship.
Thank you so much, Chief Heidi. We really appreciate you being here today, and look forward to strengthening that relationship in the coming year for sure. Next, I'd like to ask if our MP, Mr. Rob Morrison for Kootenay, Columbia, if you'd like to go ahead and unmute yourself, Rob, and give a few words.
Yeah, thanks, Brad, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Today, this is exactly the same time as the Invermere Chamber, just so you know. So you guys took priority. So anyway, we'll start with that. I just want to say from the federal point of view, my biggest concern right now and what I'm working on is the economic business recovery plan, and I really want to try and get the government, the federal government, to look at where we're going in the future and to have a plan. And that plan involves working with chambers across Canada to help us when we are going to recover, which we will. But the planning it takes, especially for us with in our rural area like Kootenay, Columbia, where it is so difficult for us to plan ahead with not only tourism but hospitality, because we're based on basically how we're going to reopen. So it makes it really challenging for us. I've sent letters to the Premier asking for Kootenay, Columbia to be, considered different than the Lower Mainland, looking at a regional perspective rather than the all of BC. So hopefully, eventually, we'll, as they say in FCM, they'll start looking through the rural lens rather than, combining us with the Lower Mainland, for example. I still am frustrated with the rapid testing and the fact that it's not deployed at federal locations. I'm not looking at the provincial, but federal, like our border crossings and our airports, so that we can open up some of that international tourism. I've heard from a lot of people who are waiting for that international side to open up because that is their business. I've asked, and we have asked the government, well, how many vaccinations will there be until we can start actually reopening? Like, what's the percentage? And we can't get a definite answer on that. One other thing, I don't want to take up too much time, but temporary foreign workers and the seasonal workers, the SAW program, I'm trying to have the government look at that SAW program, which is an agricultural program, and look at it for hospitality and tourism, because it's quite a bit simpler than the temporary foreign workers, and I think that would be good for our area and a lot of our businesses, to help them to be able to get some temporary workers, whether it's through the agricultural or whether it's through the TFW program. And I think, in closing, just there's a lot of programs out there to help the businesses out, and I hope if you have any questions, any suggestions, or any issues, whether even if you don't know if it's federal or provincial, I can always turn it over to Tom. And if it's provincial, but just please call the office and we'll try and help you. And whatever programs are available, we'll make sure that we can get access to that for you. So in closing, Brad, thanks so much again for having me here today, and I really look forward to getting back to an actual together meeting with your chamber.
So I completely agree, Rob, and thank you so much for taking the time this morning to join us. I know you're incredibly busy. Next, I would like to invite our MLA, Mr. Tom Shapitka for Kootenay East. If you'd like to go ahead and unmute yourself, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. It's always a treat. I don't know how many meetings I've had with you folks, virtually and in face-to-face. It's hard to believe this is the second year in a row now that we've been doing this, but we'll get back there somehow. And thanks, Heidi, for the recognition, the territorial recognition. Always a pleasure to see you, virtually or non. I really feel at home here, the Fernie Chamber of Commerce. As a lot of you know, I was a business guy in my former life. As a matter of fact, my first business was through the Chamber of Commerce. It was a loan grant that was offered through the Chamber of Commerce. I was a chamber member since 1986. So I really do understand what business is going through, not specifically to what this pandemic has brought on. I really can't imagine what some of you folks have gone through. I know some businesses have done really well, but others have suffered greatly, and some have actually have lost their businesses. So I really want to focus in on those that are suffering. The whole circuit breaker implementation the government's put through really concerns me. And circuit breaker is a good definition of what it is. It really is an on and off type strategy, and business just can't absorb that type of strategy. I mean, it's, hospitality, recreation doesn't operate just off and on. A lot of it's seasonal. I'm talking about, our wildlife guides, our fishing guides that are seasonal, but also those in the hospitality industry. When, you're preparing for a big spring break and you've ordered your food, you've ordered your stock, you've brought some more workers in, and then at the 11th hour, you've heard that, sorry, we're shut down for 3 weeks, and quite possibly longer is what I'm hearing now until the end of May. This just doesn't bode well for our tourism sector or our hospitality sector. And quite honestly, we've done a great job here. Some of the statistics across the province show Kootenay East as being one of the best, the best prepared. Everybody's doing their due diligence. Everybody's putting their procedures and protocols in place. You spent the money, you've done the work that's necessary, and it shows in the statistics. We're doing a good job. And MP Morrison mentioned a regionalized approach. Well, when the vaccine rollout first came out, it was kind of a age threshold thing. As if you can remember, it was going to be an 80 plus, 70 plus, 60 plus. We also incorporated long-term care facilities into that strategy. But since then, we've seen other type of strategies. We've seen community-based strategies with some of our First Nation communities, those that are more vulnerable to the infection. We've seen something now, it's called CEV, which is a critically exposed vaccine rollout for those with immune compromised systems. And we've seen, as of yesterday, a regionalized approach where Fraser Health is now going to be vaccinating teachers in a Surrey district. So whether the government wants to recognize it or not, we already have hybrid solutions to this. And as Rob Morrison pointed out, I also have been on the on the bandwagon to propose regionalized approach to us that live really close to Alberta. We rely on tourism, we rely on hospitality, and I think we do it better than anybody else. So I think they should be taking a look at that. MP Morrison also recognized rapid testing. I'm frustrated as well. BC's currently sitting on, I think, 1.5 million rapid testing kits in the province and fail to utilize them, whether it's in long-term care or any other types of applications. I know the movie industry uses it all the time. We know that sports like the NHL, they use it all the time. Why can't we be using it here in a more practical way? Temporary workers, as MP Morrison has also said, is also an issue. And as the MP has stated, we work really well with their office. We collaborate all the time. So if anybody has any questions or concerns, reach out to either one and we'll orientate you to which pile you go into. But just be rest assured that we really sympathize with what you folks are going through, and we really want to see an end to this all. So if we can all work together, I'm sure we'll get there sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. And yeah, you've been a huge champion for our business community through all this, and I can't thank you enough for all your work, and thank you for taking the time to be here this morning. Last but certainly not least, as far as opening remarks go, I'd now like to turn the floor over to our Mayor of Fernie, Ange Felipe. Ange, if you're there.
Thank you for the opportunity to have me. I'm going to shift away from some of the content that was previously mentioned by my colleagues and really talk about what Fernie's been doing to make sure that we stay healthy now and into the future, because just like many of you in business community, alongside the COVID-19 impact, we still have to do the business that we need to do. That's what the city of Fernie has a lot to do. So before I start talking about what we've done, I want to acknowledge the hardship and how hard it's been for all of you and us working in a sustained state of chaos with health orders coming out. There's nothing easy about it, but I just want to say thank you to all of you for everything that you've done to keep Fernie healthy this winter. Congratulate you on a ski season. That was fantastic. We got our numbers down when they came up. We did that by working together, not against each other. And I certainly have some optimism about our summer season. So what's happening in Fernie right now is that many of you know that IH has moved into the arena. This is great news for us because that means we're going to move into some high volume vaccination. And I'm really confident about our local team of healthcare professionals. They're doing a great job. I'm on weekly calls with them. They identify local needs. And I'm telling you what, we are well served by our healthcare professionals. A fun project, our Sparling East Playground is underway. We've got 3 little parts of the playground already built up there in Parkland Terrace. So take a look at that. That community's been waiting for a long time for a playground. Some of the regular work that we're doing, we're going to be starting swimming lessons again May 2nd. We're anticipating a high volume, perhaps about 160 participants. We're doing the hard work of getting the asbestos out of the community center. And a project that I've been waiting for to happen for years is addressing the adaptive network audit recommendations for one of our bathrooms there to make sure that it's accessible. Even though that building is old, it's well used, it's well loved, and we need to make sure that our facilities serve the needs of the community today. We're still chasing grants on your behalf to make ourselves resilient. So we're looking at the annex dike upgrades to make us flood resilient. So we're applying for grants provincially. We're looking at making sure our water source is protected with investment to the C&L right-of-way, which is the main water line and sewer line that comes out of Parkland Terrace and crosses that Burma Road Hill. And the one thing that I really want to talk about is our active transportation plan. We're about to go through phase 2 of our engagement session. I'm going to put the link to how to participate in that in the chat box right now. So one of the things that we can do as a community is really participate when we go out to engage you. We didn't get as much participation as we would have liked on phase 1. So this phase 2 program is going to help guide the plan that's going to steer investment into our community, short-term, long-term. It's going to help us identify priority routes for rolling, walking, mobility, and help keep our community safer and our neighborhoods more vibrant. So I'm going to throw that link up into the chat box unless Michael Boranowski beats me to it on how to participate in our Let's Talk Fernie. I'd like to really congratulate the collaborative relationship that we have with Community Energy Association, the Chamber of Commerce, the Fernie Trails Alliance, receiving almost $800,000 from the Tourism Impacted Community Fund, which I presented to the province on this year on behalf of the resort communities. The Journey to Iconic Fernie. Kimberly also received funding, Electrify the Kootenays project. So seeing almost $2 million come into this region off of tourism impacted communities is a step in the right direction. And there's many of us that are working as hard as we possibly can in the pandemic to come back stronger and build back stronger. That's the whole point. And being ready and nimble to get grants, have community partners like the Chamber and Tourism Fernie to support us with that is one of our biggest priorities right now. And I'm really proud of that work. So thank you to everyone that helped us with that. I also wanted to say that the patio policy last fall was amended. And we amended it last fall with the intention to extend the season either before or after. So when we found out of the recent blow to our food and beverage industry, we actually didn't have to do anything in council. That policy was there to support businesses. It was written to support businesses. So within 2 days, the current patio holders received an email from our corporate offices letting them know the process is to extend the season. And so unlike our neighboring communities in the Lower Mainland, we weren't sitting at 25 degrees Celsius. We had just come off of, I think, a 40 centimeter snow week when that happened. But we're really looking forward to supporting our downtown businesses with patios, and we're working hard to do that. I also just want to mention that on Monday night, Council adopted the budget. The budget process was long. Many of you stayed with us in conversation. We had many, many meetings starting in November of last year. That budget now is out the door, so to speak, and adopted. But what's going to happen in the next 12 months is this council is going to do the hard work of doing service level review, policy review, procedure review. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity to stay with us in conversation and stay with us in engagement. And the more we work together on the budget, the better we're going to be for Fernie now and into the future. That's always been the goal. And so we're working hard on your behalf, trying to make sure that Fernie stays vibrant and healthy. I'm really proud of everyone that we work with, council and staff, despite the pandemic and the challenges it's throwing at us. We've got some staff members that are just really, really going to extraordinary lengths to make sure that we're nimbly chasing grants to stay resilient, because we can't afford to do it on our own. So I just want to recognize the work of some of our staff members. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ange. I really appreciate your time this morning as well, and all the hard work that's been happening behind the scenes at the City of Fernie through the pandemic. It's been great. So thank you so much. So we're now going to move into the formal part of the AGM, and every voting member received the agenda package on Tuesday via email. So and there was a one-pager on how we're going to do the voting today. It's exactly the same as we did last year. I hope this is the last time we have a Zoom AGM, but here we are. So just very, very quickly, if you do plan on voting, moving or seconding motions today, we do need your full name and your organization in your name on Zoom. So if you go ahead and rename yourself now. Everything's going to be facilitated in the chat. So when Anita, our chair, moves to a resolution and you want to move it, you simply type moved in the chat or seconded. And then the first person we see in the chat who's a member in good standing with their full name will be the mover and the seconder, and we record that chat as part of recording the meeting. And then we are going to, when we moved on to the voting part, we will ask for all of those opposed. So if you are opposed, if you could just write opposed in the chat. If we have a majority that aren't opposed, then the motion will be carried. Throughout the whole meeting, we will ask that you all stay on mute as well, just typical Zoom sort of protocols. And so without further ado, I would like to invite Anita Palmer, who is the current president of the Fernie Chamber of Commerce, to chair the formal portion of the AGM. Anita, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Brad, and welcome everyone to the 2021 Fernie AGM. I would like now to formally call the 2021 Annual General Meeting of the Fernie Chamber of Commerce to order at 9:55 a.m. Could I get a motion from the membership to approve? Okay, just messed me up here. Okay. Could I get a motion from the membership to approve the 2021 Annual General Meeting agenda as included in the AGM package, electronically distributed to members? Please type moved or seconded in the chat function in Zoom if you are a voting member. So moved by?
So we have a move by John Ward and seconded by Andrew Hayden.
Okay, we'll now call for all those opposed to the motion. Seeing none? Some?
Yep, we're seeing none, Anita. I think that's carried.
Carried. Thank you. Could I get a motion from the membership to adopt the 2020 Annual General Meeting minutes as included in the AGM package? Okay. In the AGM, man, this keeps moving on me. AGM electronically distributed to the members. Please type moved or seconded in the chat function in Zoom if you're a voting member. Moved by?
Moved by Evelyn Cutts.
Seconded by?
Laura Alexau.
Anyone opposed? Carried. So now I'm going to do the 2020 year in review annual report. It is my pleasure to deliver this review of the 2020 operating year for the Fernie Chamber of Commerce. I would like to thank the Board of Directors for their dedication, hard work, and their commitment to the mission and goals of the Fernie Chamber in helping our members grow their businesses in the Fernie area. 2020 was a year none of us will soon forget, as COVID-19 pandemic upended the global economy and impacted each of our lives. The early days of the pandemic prompted the closure of a lot of our Fernie businesses in mid-March amid much uncertainty and anxiety about the future. As we moved through the year, the Fernie Chamber was constantly impressed and inspired by the tenacity of our local business community as we pivoted multiple times to meet evolving public health orders. I want to sincerely thank our dedicated staff for their unwavering commitment to helping impacted businesses weather the storm over the past 12 months. Brad Parcell, our Executive Director, Jesse Ross, Visitor Services Manager, Kalina Whitlaw, Membership Services and Co-working Community Manager, Sandra Robertson, our Visitor Information Counselor, and Marissa Hogg, Visitor Information Counselor. The Fernie Visitor Information Center and Chamber became and continues to be the central hub for COVID-19 information in our community for residents, businesses, and visitors alike. Our team has been there every step of the way with timely information and resources and worked tirelessly to support the community under incredibly difficult circumstances. Despite having to completely readjust our work plan for 2020 to respond to the pandemic, the Fernie Chamber was still very busy delivering to its membership a high volume of programming and advocacy work, as well as advancing key economic development projects for Fernie. The 43rd Annual Grizz Days Winter Festival, held on the weekend of March 6 to 8, 2020, was a huge success, raising money for local charity, and was the last time our community was able to gather for a large-scale event. As the pandemic hit and events were canceled, the Fernie Chamber remained committed to its mandate and was able to move ahead with several key events in a modified or virtual format, including our 2020 AGM and the annual Fernie Business Excellence Awards. We were also happy to lend a one-time hand as lead organizers for the virtual Canada Day celebrations, as the City of Fernie staff had limited capacity while responding to the pandemic. The virtual concert filmed from the top of the out chair at Fernie Alpine Resort was headlined by Shred Kelly and helped raise money for local businesses and artists. In January, the 2020 Business Pulse Check was launched as a quick survey that our members can take at the end of each month in under 30 seconds. The monthly results of the survey were used by Chamber and staff in developing information sessions, workshops, and advocacy efforts. Several professional development opportunities were hosted online, including workshops on marketing and cash flow management. The Fernie Ambassador Program was also pivoted to virtual delivery and was able to train another 40 ambassadors for the community in 2020. As you would expect, our day-to-day activities for much of the last year were dominated by the effects of the pandemic on our local business community. The Fernie Chamber hosted 10 COVID-19 business community meetings in the spring that featured updates from our executive director on business support programs available, as well as updates from elected officials, the Elk Valley Hospital, Tourism Fernie, Tech, and others. These Zoom meetings help keep our business community connected and informed. We were also able to launch a brand new Fernie Chamber website last year to help better share resources and vital information with the business community. Our advocacy machine was in overdrive in 2020 as we regularly connected with elected officials and staff at all levels of government to relay how our businesses were doing and whether the government supported programs were having the desired impact. To all those local businesses that reached out to the Fernie Chamber with their challenges and stories, thank you. Your experience and feedback were so valuable in our lobbying efforts last year. As the province entered into the second wave of the pandemic in the fall, the Fernie Chamber also launched the Help Keep Us Open for Business campaign, in addition to many shop local initiatives. On top of the aforementioned programming and work, the Fernie Chamber launched not one, but two exciting large-scale economic development projects for Fernie in 2020. The first was Work in Fernie, which you can find at www.workinfernie.com, a brand new workforce attraction website and online job board that was officially unveiled in June. Developed using grant funding from the BC government, Work in Fernie seems to move the needle on the long-standing issues of our labor shortages and lack of a stable workforce impacting our local businesses. In partnership with Tourism Fernie, the website is supported by a sophisticated digital marketing campaign that drives the traffic to your job listings while selling the dream of living and working in Fernie. The second major economic development project launched by the Fernie Chamber in 2020 was our long-standing project, years in the making, Downtown Fernie's community co-working space. In February 2020, the Fernie Chamber signed a lease taking over the historic Fernie Free Press building on 342 2nd Avenue, with the Free Press agreeing to stay on in the space as our anchor tenant. The Fernie Chamber embarked on an ambitious renovation of space over the summer and fall of 2020. While hammers were swinging, we launched the name and branding of the co-working space, which is called Second Edition Co-working. The name is a tip of the hat to the newspaper legacy of the building, as well as its convenient downtown location on 2nd Avenue. After a lot of work and effort, the Fernie Chamber finally opened the doors of 2nd edition co-working in December 2020. It was certainly not the grand opening we had envisioned for the space, as opening in the middle of a second wave of a BC's pandemic meant no official opening ceremony and limited memberships available due to physical distancing and other COVID safety plan requirements. We are extremely grateful to our co-working members working in the space to date and look forward to welcoming even more professionals to 2nd edition as COVID restrictions allow. The downtown co-working space will be an asset for our community for many years to come, especially in a post-pandemic landscape where remote working in towns like Fernie will only be more desirable. And we will have a grand opening party when we can. Stay tuned. Finally, it has been my great honor to serve as president of the Fernie Chamber of Commerce these past 2 years. I am very proud to work amongst such a vibrant and resilient business community. We emerge from the pandemic stronger than ever with a bright and prosperous future. Just gonna take a drink. I would now like to invite Michael Murphy from BDO to present the 2020 Fernie Chamber financial statements to the membership. Michael?
Thank you, President Palmer. I met with the Chamber Board and to approve the statements in principle April 8th last week. And so I'll just go over the financial statements quickly just to kind of summarize some of the stuff. Anita did a great job of summarizing a lot of this stuff. And when I looked at these statements the first time, I would have never believed they happened during a pandemic. So based on our review, nothing has come to attention that causes us to believe that the financial statements do not present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Fernie Chamber of Commerce as of December 31st, 2020. So,
Michael, I'm just going to interrupt. We can only see your desktop at this point in time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Stop that screen sharing. Let's do a new share. There we go. My screen's flipped. How's that, Brad?
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So one of the things we see is that there was a significant amount of cash the previous year, and lots of that was tied to deferred revenue. And as Anita mentioned, there was $24,000 towards the Work in Fernie website, as well as $70,000+ that was earmarked for the co-working space. So those funds were spent, as well as some additional funds. And we can see that capital assets are up $150,000 after amortization for the year. There was over $220,000 of capital expenditures with respect to the co-working space and furnishings and whatnot. So still, during a pandemic, a very busy year. The other item to note on the statements that's new is this long-term debt. That is the repayable portion of the $60,000 that the Chamber received through the CEBA loan program through the Government of Canada. So the $20,000 forgivable portion has been recognized as revenue, as we'll see on the next page, as we anticipate that the $40,000 will be paid back when comes due. So just looking at operations, so the grants and subsidies are significantly more this year, in part due to the $24,000 grant from the province and the $77,000 for the co-working space, along with the $20,000 for the CEBA loan, as well as a bunch of wage subsidy amounts that are broken out on note 6 if you'd like to see what the Fernie Chamber use it for. The Amazon economy definitely impacted, as there were a lot more in per liter fees and whatnot during the year. Anita mentioned that in terms of community events, you had the Canada Day event, which increased revenues compared to prior year, where we just had our normal Grizz days. Memberships remained constant. And then we had our rental income for the co-working space. And in fundraising and events, we were down because of a scaled back virtual business excellence awards. When we look at expenses, wages are up, and lots of that was due to some scheduled approved raises. The community events and sponsorship had the offset for our Canada Day. Fundraising and events are higher than the actual revenues, in part because that's where lots of the website costs are. And then we have our co-working space. So all in all, there was a significant excess of revenue over expenses for $106,000. Lots of that was invested in capital. So we'll see over the course of the next couple of years, amortization is going to create a paper loss in this case. So, all things being said, the Fernie Chamber did a remarkable job of, navigating their financial position through a pandemic. So that's just at least a brief overview, further emphasizing what was in the President's report. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, Michael, so I think we can probably go ahead.
Thank you, Michael. Could I get a motion from the membership to accept the 2020 financial statements as presented here and included in the AGM package electronically distributed to the members? Please type moved or seconded in the chat function in the Zoom if you are a voting member. Okay, moved by Andre Levine, seconded by
I see Jamie Hansen move that as well,
okay,
so I'm sure she'd be happy being seconded.
Okay, Jamie can be their seconder. Do we have anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Thank you for that, Michael. And can I get a motion from the membership to waive the right to an audit? Please type moved or seconded in the chat function in Zoom if you are a voting member. Moved by
Moved by Juliana Bauer.
and seconded by
Simon House.
thank you. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Thank you. The next item in our agenda is the appointment of an accounting firm for 2021. You will notice from the minutes of the last year's AGM that a motion to appoint BDO as the year-ending accounting firm for 2020 through 2022 was carried by the membership. We therefore have already appointed BDO for our accounting firm for 2021. We're
Anita,
now
before we jump into the next section, I am going to share my screen so that people can see all the directors. So just giving you a heads up this time.
okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Anita.
Okay, we are now moving on to our election of the Board of Directors for the 2021-2022 year. As per our governing policies and bylaws, the Fernie Chamber of Commerce has a maximum of 12 board of directors, with each director voted in for a 2-year term. Our current outgoing board of directors is displayed on the screen. And as you can see, this year we have 7 of the 12 board directors currently serving who are halfway through their 2-year term and will be continuing for another year. These continuing board members are Andy Cohen from Fernie Alpine Resort, Norm Fraser from Tech, Phil Gadd, The Loaf and eXp Realty, Simon House from Parastone, Mike McPhee from Island Lake Lodge, and Laura Alexa from Spa 901, and Ash Williams from Sheepdog Construction. The 5 remaining current board directors have their term expiring at today's AGM. 3 have been nominated for a second term. Dennis Donelich from the Vogue Theatre, Jamie Hansen, Return to Earth Concepts and GPI, and Sydney Salvador, Chopstick Truck. As per our bylaws, I will automatically be taking the past president seat on the board of directors. This leaves Andrew Hayden from Fernie Distillers, who will not be running again after his term expires at today's AGM. This year, we gave formal notice of the AGM and opened nominations to the Fernie Chamber of Commerce Board more than 45 days prior to today's AGM date. Calls for board nominations and notice of the AGM were included in all Fernie Chamber e-newsletters and on our social media for the past 2 months. Nominations closed a week prior to today's AGM at the last regular meeting of this board on Thursday, April 8th, 2021. Our board development committee had received 1 new signed nomination form by the closing date, Juliana Bauer from Elk Valley Painting and Power Builders, as well as the nominations from the current board directors running again as shown on the screen. Could I get a motion from the membership to approve the slate of nominations for the 2021-2022 Fernie Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors? Moved by?
Moved by Evelyn Katz. And seconded by John Ward.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. With 5 available seats and 5 nominees standing in the election, this means that all 5 nominees will be elected onto the Fernie Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors by acclamation. I will now read the full list of your 2021-2022 Fernie Chamber Board members that will be representing you in the coming year. Juliana Bauer, Elk Valley Painting and Bauer Builders. Andy Cohen, Fernie Alpine Resort. Dennis Donelich, Vogue Theatre. Norm Fraser, Tech. Bill Gadd, The Loaf and EXP Realty. Jamie Hansen, Return to Earth Concepts and GPI Accounting. Simon House, Parastone. Mike McPhee, Island Lake Lodge. Laura Leskow, Spa 901. Anita Palmer, College of the Rockies. Sydney Salvador, Chopstick Truck. And Ash Williams, Sheepdog Construction. Please join me in congratulating the 2021-2022 Fernie Chamber Board of Directors. Usually at this time, we would ask all board members to come to the stage for an annual photo, but unfortunately, that will be postponed again this year. Appointment of officers, including president, vice president, and treasurer, will happen at our first regular board meeting after the AGM. I would like to sincerely thank outgoing board director Andrew Hayden for his 2 years of service on the Fernie Chamber Board. Your contributions have been very appreciated, and a small gift of our appreciation will be forthcoming to you after the AGM. Brad?
Thank you so much, Anita. And while we're giving recognition, I would also like to thank Andrew Hayden on behalf of the staff of the Fernie Chamber of Commerce. And I would very much like to publicly thank our outgoing president, Anita Palmer, for all of her work as president of the Fernie Chamber for these past 2 years. As executive director, I could not have asked for more supportive and instructive leadership through what was an incredibly challenging year. So thank you so much, Anita, for that. And I also have a small gift for you that I'll give you after the AGM as a bit of an appreciation. So thank you so much, and I'll hand it back to you, Anita, for your last duty as president to close the AGM.
Thank you, Brad. Well, that is it for the formal part of the AGM meeting. Thank you for bearing with us through this virtual AGM. It was really important to our organization that we keep continuity and move through regular business despite the challenges of COVID-19 and the inability to hold a proper AGM. I will now call the formal portion of the 2021 Fernie Chamber of Commerce AGM to adjourn at 10:20 a.m. Brad?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anita. And we do have now, to round out the meeting today, we have a few presentations. But before we get to those, I just wanted to give a bit of an executive director report from last year. And I'll try to keep this very brief and try not to tread the same ground that Anita did. So just bear with me one second here, and I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, folks. So yeah, today I really wanted just to pull out a few highlights and really just focus on our advocacy efforts and our new website in particular, which we didn't really get a chance to properly launch through the pandemic last year. And then I'm also going to run you very, very quickly through the 2021 Fernie Chamber Strategic Plan that this board adopted at the tail end of last year. So jumping straight into it, it's been very apparent to us this year that there are more people engaged with the Fernie Chamber of Commerce than ever before. And we've thrown some stats on the slide there, 22 new members in 2020. We rounded out the year with 289 members. I actually have 5 more as of today. Big increases in our social media followings. And as I was putting together this presentation and the annual report and looking at previous years, I know sort of 5-7 years ago, we used to sort of count all the media mentions that we had across the year and put that in the annual report. And last year we lost count, to be honest with you. There was a lot of media coverage and exposure for the Fernie Chamber of Commerce. So we're very, very cognizant that for a lot of you, this may be your very, very first Fernie Chamber of Commerce AGM. And so, I wanted to just very, very quickly, without jumping too into it, talk about, what is the Fernie Chamber of Commerce and what is it that we do on behalf of the community. And I thought I'd pull out, and bear with me, I'm not going to go through 120 years of history here, but I did want to pull out that we were established in 1902 as the Fernie Board of Trade, and we are one of the oldest organizations in Fernie. And I have some of this stuff in my office, which is really neat. The article on the left there from the Fernie Free Press, who I think is about 4 years older than us, started in 1898, another one of the oldest organizations in town. And talking about the formation of the Board of Trade. And then on the right there, a quote from another article talking about how the Fernie Board of Trade, so we're actually 2 years older than the city of Fernie. So we were formed before the city was incorporated. And there was a huge push from the Board of Trade to get the city incorporated and things like that. So a really, really interesting history that we have. That's a shot of all the membership in 1909, a bunch of good looking people, although, not nearly as good looking as our current membership. So today, we find ourselves with the largest business association out in the Out Valley, as you saw, representing give or take 300 members. That's the number fluctuates throughout the year. 2021 being our 119th year of operation, and we're certainly honored to continue that legacy. The vision of the Chamber is to be a vibrant organization recognized for its valuable contribution to the community, and that vision was reinstated by the current board and the current strategic plan. And our mission is to strengthen commerce in Fernie and area. As a quick snapshot of what we do, I get asked all the time, what is the benefit of becoming a member of the Chamber, or, what does the Chamber do for the community? And it's not an easy question to answer because we do quite a lot. You can see some of the big ones, the Visitor Center, Grizz Days. I'm going to talk about work in Fernie and the co-working space in a little bit. We have the Ambassador Program, the Business Awards. We are the Purelator Depot for Fernie. And then some of the other pieces in there, advocacy, which I'm going to talk about in just a sec, celebrating all of our businesses. And we have a Fernie Success blog and hashtag that we use. Obviously, our professional development sessions and workshops. We're very much involved in economic development. And a lot of networking events like the business banter and beers. And I'm just being told you can't see the bottom of the slide there, so I apologize for that. So jumping into advocacy really quickly, and it's a word that we throw around a lot in the Chamber of Commerce environment, but the actual definition of advocacy is an activity by an individual or group which aims to influence decisions within political, economic, and social systems and institutions. So Fernie Chamber of Commerce is very much the, is the voice of business in Fernie. And we do that by raising awareness of challenges and opportunities facing Fernie businesses. We lobby for legislative change, resulting in a better regulatory environment for businesses to thrive and succeed. And throughout the year, we give direct feedback to elected officials, government staff, and economic development groups in private meetings and roundtables. And what that looks like across the 3 levels of government, obviously the local government here in Fernie, at the city of Fernie, I attend council meetings, every council meeting on the business community's behalf. We have a really direct line into City Hall with both the elected officials and staff. On a provincial level, when we're talking about provincial legislation, we are a member in good standing of the BC Chamber AGM. So by being a member of the Fernie Chamber, you're actually a member of the BC Chamber and the Canadian Chamber as well. And every May at the BC Chamber AGM, I attend on your behalf, and we have a big a book of policy resolutions that's brought forward, suggestions to amend legislation, and then the BC Chamber caucus votes on that. And we adopt policies for the year, and that forms the basis of our advocacy at the provincial level. And then in October and the fall, we do exactly the same thing, but on a federal level with the Canadian Chamber. And I did attend both of those AGMs and policy debates on your behalf last year. Moving along, and this is just a quick screenshot I grabbed. I think Rob's dropped off the call now, but just as an example of, this is a meeting that Yicker and myself took with Rob earlier in the year, talking about the importance of the wage subsidy and other pieces that are critical to the business community. The Fernie Chamber also represents your business and organizations on a variety of regional committees and boards, including the Kootenay Rockies Tourism Destination Management Committee, which I'm currently chairing. I'm also currently the chair of the Fernie Tourism Master Plan Champions Group, and also currently serve as the coordinator/secretary for the Out Valley Economic Initiative. And there's a couple of other committees and things that we're a part of as well on a regional and provincial level. And that's just another way that we get your voice heard through some of these groups. And so how do you have your voice heard as a Fernie business? And so there's a few things I wanted to talk about today, and I'm going to pull out the Fernie Business Pulse Check in just a second for you. But every month in our newsletter at the conclusion of each month, we do send out a quick 30-second survey for businesses to take. And we've been compiling that data for over a year now, and I'm going to show that to you in just a second. Of course, just reaching out to a board director. You've seen who all of our current board directors are, or to myself as executive director. And I, again, want to echo Anita's comments that I really thank everybody through the pandemic who's reached out and shared their stories. It's really, really powerful when you're in front of government to give a very, very specific example or a very real world example about how some of these policies and legislations are impacting businesses on the ground. So please continue to do that. Our advocacy committee is going to fire up again this year, and we'll be hosting industry roundtables for different sectors, food and beverage, construction development, real estate, things like that. So look out for those opportunities if you're a member. Definitely, I encourage all of you to participate in our business retention and expansion survey that we'll be rolling out in the fall. And we do have a standing email as well, ideas@ferniechamber.com, which comes straight to my desk if you have any, thoughts about challenges, opportunities out in the landscape. We always want to hear from you. So jumping into the Fernie Business Pulse Check, we launched that in January last year, pre-pandemic. It's a quick 30-second survey. It's multiple choice. The goal is for it to not be a burden or take up too much time. And each month we just ask the same quick 6 questions. So we ask a question about how your revenue is doing compared to the same month last year. We ask how many job vacancies you have. We ask about, professional development opportunities. Is there a particular topic that would improve your business? We talk about confidence. So for 2020, we were asking, are you confident in the next 12 months? In January 2021, we changed that to, are you confident for the next 6 months, recognizing that it's really hard to plan a year out at the moment with the pandemic. We ask which sector you describe so we can sort the data by sector. And then we do have a net promoter score that we use internally just to track how we're doing as a chamber. And so here are some of the results that I wanted to pull out for you guys. So compared to the same month last year, was your gross revenue or sales this past month, was it up, down, or similar? So if you're up on last year, you're green. If you're about the same as last year, you're blue. And if you're down on last year, you're yellow. And so you can see that pre-pandemic, you know, the majority of businesses were having a pretty decent year, or at least similar to last year. And then the pandemic hits in March, and it's pretty shocking. 85% of businesses were surveyed were down on last year in March. In April, while everyone was dealing with the realities of what was going on, we didn't have much uptake in that survey, so we didn't have enough data to do it. And then over the course of 2020, you can see that, you know, revenues start to slowly increase, you know, particularly as we get into that late peak summer period of August and September. Even October was really, really busy for a lot of folks. And then of course, the new round of restrictions that hit in November meant that we started to see that recede again. And, you know, January, February, as we all know, December were really tough for a lot of businesses this winter compared to a normal year. Interesting to see that March, with all that great weather, business did start to pick up briefly before the hammer came down again with restaurants and fitness businesses at the end of that month. So it's a little snapshot of where Fernie sat as far as revenue. The other question we ask is around labor shortages and, you know, how many vacant positions you have in your company right now. And you can see that that kind of fluctuates throughout the year. It's been interesting to sort of follow this through the pandemic, but right now, as of March, you know, almost half of our businesses surveyed had at least one vacancy in the organization. And so, you know, certainly that labor shortage issue as we come into summer is very top of mind. And then the final one I wanted to pull out was confidence levels. So again, we were asking about confidence in the next 12 months. In 2020, we shortened that down to 6 months in 2021. And you can really see at the start of the pandemic in March, that confidence took a huge hit with 85% of businesses saying they were no longer confident in the next year. And then again, it's sort of ebbed and flowed since then, where for our last month, you know, there is a little bit of optimism. And again, that was just before the new restrictions came in as well. So this is the kind of data we're tracking in the back end with the Fernie Business Pulse Check. And I really encourage all of you to participate. You know, the more member businesses that respond to this survey, the better our collective understanding is of how you're all doing. And so when you see that come through in your e-newsletter, please take the 30 seconds to take that survey. It's been really, really instructive for us as staff at the Chamber. The other thing I wanted to pull out very, very quickly was our new Fernie Chamber of Commerce website, which we launched in the summer of 2020, and it kind of got buried in a lot of what was going on, but we're very, very proud of it. It's vastly more user-friendly and mobile-friendly than our old website. We have a significantly improved business directory, which we are going to start really promoting as the go-to business directory in Fernie. And that is a member benefit. And we certainly encourage people at the bottom of the new website, you can log in as members, and the information you can update yourself. So if you have a new phone number or a new address, you know, it's very intuitive. You can update all of that. And that pulls straight through into the front end of that business directory. So just making sure if you haven't logged in a while, you might want to check that out. The other section of the website, and I was going to walk you through it, but we're running a little bit behind, was just the resources page as well, which we're constantly updating. So there is a bunch of resources on there to do with COVID-19 and the pandemic, but also just more general business resources for our members. So that was just some of the quick highlights I wanted to pull out, and I am going to jump into the strategic plan next. I realize this has been a long meeting, and you know, so maybe we'll just, if I stop my screen share here, I can see you all. You know, I might try to lighten the mood a little bit here. Some of this can be dry, maybe tell a quick joke, and this one goes out to all the restaurants that are suffering right now. So a mushroom walks into a bar, and the mushroom says to the barkeeper, "Can I please have a beer?" And the barkeeper says, "Well, I'm sorry, we don't serve mushrooms in this bar." And the mushroom said, "Oh, come on, I'm a fun guy." Eh? I realize actually that telling a joke to 55 people that are muted isn't probably wasn't a great idea. I have no idea how that went down. Anyway, we're going to jump back into this presentation.
Brad, this is Troy Nixon.
Yes.
That was definitely a Kevin McIsaac joke. Did you get it?
Totally. All right, so we've had a little bit of levity and we're back into it. So the strategic plan, most organizations have one, a critical document that typically the board or the governing body puts together. And it really is for me and for my staff, that's sort of guiding light. Aside from all the usual programming and initiatives we do, these are really the strategic priorities of our board. And like a lot of organizations, we've just done a strategic plan for 1 year this year, recognizing the challenges of the pandemic. But the board did get together November 4th, 2020. We virtually met on Zoom for our strat plan session. As I said, it was recognized that the business environment had changed dramatically since the last strategic plan. And so it was about time we revisited that document. And so the current strategic plan for the Fernie Chamber is built on 6 key pillars. And I'm going to run through those 6 pillars as quickly as I can so we can get to some of these other presentations. So our first strategic pillar is just around increasing our membership and making sure we're providing value to our membership. And so we have some KPIs there that the staff are working towards as far as growing our membership, trying to reduce active loss within the membership. The regular data collection piece with surveys, which the Fernie Business Pulse Check and our business retention expansion surveys, that's sort of what that's driving. And doing some research, and we're going to talk about that in a little while as well, around just trying to get a lot more data and be a bit more data driven in what we do. So that's the first pillar of our strategic plan. The second pillar is, as we've talked about at length through the course of this meeting, is labor shortages and trying to help alleviate that issue that's facing Fernie businesses. And so the Work in Fernie website was kind of our first crack at trying to move the needle on this. And so the website's coming up on its first year anniversary, and we have a ton of analytics and data in the back end of the website, different audiences that have been visiting the website looking for jobs. And so we're constantly pulling this data and using it to refine the digital marketing campaign and making sure that we're really targeting potential workers in the right way and spending that money properly. We haven't spent a cent outside of Canada, obviously, yet, just with the pandemic, and we hope that will change, that we can start marketing Fernie to Australia and New Zealand and places like that by the end of this year. And we continue to refine and promote the Work in Fernie website, improving content, resources. We are exploring the idea of a co-op marketing opportunity where businesses could pay a little bit of money for additional exposure for their jobs, similar to Indeed. And our other marketing efforts. And we do all this in partnership with Tourism Fernie, who are obviously very, very seasoned in this realm. So that's the second pillar of the strategic plan. And on that too, I just wanted to point out that the Fernie Chamber will be hosting a virtual panel discussion on Fernie's workforce and labor shortages on Wednesday, the 12th of May at noon on Zoom and Facebook. And we have confirmed panelists from GoToHR, Kootenay Employment Services, Perez McKenzie Immigration, an immigration consultant that we work with. And as well, I'll be giving an update on the Work in Fernie website and doing a really deep dive into that data and where the traffic is coming from. So that'll be on Wednesday, the 12th of May, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about where we're at right now with the workforce and labor shortages in Fernie. The third of the 6 pillars of our strategic plan is all around our co-working space. So to manage and grow the co-working space in downtown Fernie. And again, we opened it last year, and the goal now is to improve, refine and grow that space and the operation with the goal of it being financially sustainable by the end of this year. Like many, many businesses, we opened this venture, obviously in the middle of a pandemic with pretty serious restrictions. And we haven't been able to realize the revenue that we had planned to. We're still very passionate about this project, and we want to make sure it's sustainable. And we will be launching a fundraising campaign for the co-working space later in the spring. So if there will be an opportunity, if your business wants to become a co-working supporter, we'll have a a recognition wall of community support in the space, very similar to the hospital. So that'll be a great opportunity that we hope to roll out very shortly. And as Anita touched on, we are itching to have a grand opening ceremony and to show you folks what we've done in that building. The renovation's pretty incredible, and it just really goes to show what you can do with those historic buildings downtown. Because I'm sure a lot of you haven't actually seen the space, I've included a few pictures here just to give you a bit of flavor of what the space looks like. Big shout out to Jordan Earl Contracting and all the subcontractors that worked with us on putting this together. It's been such an incredible transformation of this building. Obviously with COVID protocols, we're keeping distance, as you can see there, making sure everyone's 2 meters apart. But it's a really incredible space, and we're very, very proud of how it's turned out. And we really look forward to being able to welcome more and more folks in there as restrictions allow. The fourth pillar of our strategic plan of the 6 is all to do with the Fernie Visitor Information Center, which the Fernie Chamber of Commerce manages on the city's behalf. And it's our main goal here is to improve the visitor experience at the visitor center and the arrival experience overall for Fernie. And so, you know, we have some action items or some buckets in there, you know, around interpretive displays. And as Chief Heidi touched on at the start, we're very passionate about getting some Tanaha and Tobacco Plains content into our visitor information center. We also want to have a downtown interpretive display, which kind of encourages people to get off the highway and actually get into our downtown core and experience that. You know, we're looking at replacing a digital visitor kiosk, exploring weatherproof options for outside, looking at this parking situation at the VIC and the potential removal of the Sani dump and redesigning parking spaces. And then finally, just trying to develop a sustainable funding plan to really renovate the building and the grounds of the VIC. And as Ange touched on, Mayor Ange, at the start, you know, there's been an incredible opportunity to make some inroads into that with this $750,000 in grants that's come through from the Tourism Dependent Communities Grant. So we really look forward to working with the city and Community Energy Association, Tourism Fernie, and the Trails Alliance on that project. It'll go a long way to this strategic pillar. Second last out of the 6 is to strongly advocate for Fernie's housing needs. And, you know, we have a few different approaches that the board's identified here. You know, we hear constantly, or certainly I have in the 2 years I've been in this role, about the whole staffing housing dynamic in Fernie and how it's really undermining businesses' ability to grow and you know, without that access to a stable workforce. And you know, we've had a lot of businesses make job offers to really great candidates, and those candidates have had to turn the job down because they couldn't find a place to live. And so the impacts of housing on our local economy can't be overstated. And so what the board's looking at here is, you know, trying to develop a better understanding of our ongoing housing needs by engaging with the planning department at the city and our members and stakeholders. Try to explore opportunities for public-private housing partnerships, which is a piece of the tourism master plan that we're a part of. And, you know, possibly future subsidized housing projects like we're seeing near Isabella Dickin. The other piece of this, the board is identified as really advocating very strongly for a local regulatory and zoning environment that enables property owners to increase density very easily on existing lots and try to make it easier for developers to break ground on new projects in the community. And finally, just advocating for more staff housing projects where feasible. The result was identified. And finally, just holding local government to account on the issue of housing in Fernie. And I think if you cast your mind back to the 2018 municipal election, it certainly was one of the biggest topics and one of the biggest platforms of this current council was housing. So that's another thing that we're very, very passionate about, that the board has identified as something for us to work on this year. And as part of that, the Fernie Chamber will be hosting a virtual panel discussion on Fernie's housing situation on Wednesday, the 9th of June at noon. I haven't confirmed all of the panelists yet, but we'll do a bit of a deep dive into the current state of the union with housing, have a talk about the new housing needs report that the city just had done. And look at different ways we can move forward. So I think that should be a really interesting session. And, you know, we all know that housing is a really big issue. You know, we've seen it. There's been some very lengthy council meetings of late in that arena, and so we're looking forward to being a strong advocate for the coming year on Fernie's housing needs. And finally, the last pillar of our strategic plan is to formalize an economic development function or a business development function for Fernie. So what we're talking about here is trying to find a funding model or a funding mechanism to appoint a Fernie-centric economic development officer or a similar function to the Fernie Chamber in-house here, with the primary function of building capacity, conducting market research, attracting investment, and attracting and directing grant opportunities for Fernie to different organizations. I was hoping I was going to be able to make a major announcement this morning, but I'm not in a position to do that. But we are awaiting on news on a grant application that the Fernie Chamber made to the Economic Trust of the Southern Interior, which was formerly known as CITIT, that would fully fund an economic development officer for the Elk Valley for 12 months, and that would be based out of the Fernie Chamber of Commerce. And between us here on this call, I can tell you that I am 99.9% confident that we're going to get that grant. So that's again going to make some incredible inroads into that sixth pillar of the strategic plan. So that is that's all I had as far as a presentation. So I am going to, I'm going to stop my screen share here, and so we do have, like I said at the top, we've got a few guest speakers that have been patiently waiting through all of this. And so I'd like to introduce the first of those now. So our first speaker will be Kevin Allen, who's currently the president of the Fernie Pride Society. And the Fernie Pride Society have a really interesting project around inclusivity that Kevin's going to enlighten us all on. So Kevin, please take it away.
Thank you, Brad and Anita, for allowing us to speak. We're proud chamber members and are grateful for all the services you provide us specifically and to the community. Fernie Pride, for those who don't know, is not as old as the chamber. We're a young organization. We've only been around since the fall of 2016. Our founding president, Sarah Funk, was really instrumental in getting us to the place that we are today with interesting programming. And our mandate is to support and connect the LGBTQ2 community in the Elk Valley. And we work very hard as volunteers and staff to do that. We recently, I'm going to share my screen. I think I'm going to share my screen. Can you see it?
Yeah, looks good, Kevin.
So we recently applied to the federal government, Department of Canadian Heritage, for a community capacity building grant, and we were one of 76 groups across the country that were awarded some money for building our capacity. So we put out an RFP, had several applications, and we chose local consultants, capacity consulting, under the leadership of Cindy Pearson and Patty Vadney. And the project is basically to help us at the society sort of expand and better define the needs of our community, the LGBTQ2 community. And to this purpose, the consultants have struck an advisory group of LGBTQ2 individuals and human resource professionals, and they're coming up with terms of reference and developing a needs assessment and community survey. The results are going to help us with our policy development, advocacy efforts, how we liaise with different levels of government, with Interior Health, and with the business community. And one of the things that we're hoping the Chamber will be able to help us with is, once the survey gets developed and refined in May, help disseminate it out to the business community so that the business community can send it out to their employees and customers. We want it to be as widespread as possible. That's what I just mentioned, spread it wide and far throughout the Elk Valley. And then if you do need to contact us for any reason, please get in touch with our very competent administrator, who's I see on this call in a different capacity, and Courtney Baker. And that's, I'm keeping it really brief for you. and finally, I'll plug, we do have a peer support program called Ears for Peers. It replaced our Beers for Queers, and we have a problem with rhyming programs in the Fernie Pride Society. So it's a Zoom get together for people who might feel isolated or just need to connect, which is really important during the pandemic. And that's a monthly thing, and it just happens to be tonight. So if you know any friends or family who are LGBTQ2 who want to connect, please get in touch with the Fernie Pride Society. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for that. And yeah, we're very excited in the chamber to help in any way we can with that project. It sounds really great. That sounds awesome. So thank you so much. And if I could just ask you, Kevin, to stop sharing your screen while I introduce our next presenter, who is Cora, who's the advisor for Haddad Financial Services, which administer the Chamber Group Insurance Benefits Program. So Cora, I don't know, did you want to give an introduction to the video, or do you want me just to play the video? Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Good morning, everyone. Congratulations to the new board of directors at the Fernie Chamber of Commerce. Yes, this pandemic has made differences in our lives, and I don't get to Fernie anymore. I'm just in Cranbrook, but I do look after Fernie, Sparwood, Elkford, Cranbrook, and Kimberley with the chamber plan, with Haddad Financial Services. So my office is in Cranbrook, and normally I like to get out to the different communities, but that's been a little bit challenging with the pandemic. But something that you may not be aware of, because I really had to step up to the plate and try and do this digital world. So Haddad Financial Services, as of this year, has a new design website, something we never had before. So you can find us at haddadfinancial.ca. We also have a chamber, the chamberplan.ca page that is just based on chamber plan group benefits. So if you're interested in getting more information about a plan for your business, you can click right there and I get an email with your contact information. And that's chamberplan.ca. And I think Brad and Kalina do have that website that they use often too, where businesses can click through for more information. I'll let Brad share a video with you. It's just a short little video about what Chamber Plan is, and then I can answer any questions that you might have and give you some other ideas about using Chamber Plan for your business.
Awesome, thank you, Cora. And just bear with me one sec here while I set this video up. I always get somewhat nervous sharing video through.
That's why I sent it to you, Brad.
So just give me one sec here.
When you're responsible for every little detail, here's one thing that you don't have to worry about: your Chamber's Plan employee benefits. The rates stay manageable and predictable because more than 30,000 Canadian businesses are pooled in the plan. And you never have to compromise on benefits and extra features for you and your staff. Better benefits, stable rates, and a chance to relax, at least for an hour. This is what Canada's #1 employee benefits plan looks like.
So just a quick kind of cap on what Chamber Plan does. So Chamber Plan is actually a not-for-profit organization, which means they don't look at making a big profit like other insurance companies can. Any profits that they do get, they put back into the plan. One of the biggest things I think with Chamber Plan is for small businesses, it has a business assistance program. So small businesses have access to those accounting, legal, HR advice that maybe a small firm does not have access to. I know a lot of small businesses, maybe you have a spouse that might work at tech, so you might have health and dental rates through a spouse and have those benefits there. But for yourself, if you're running a business, have you thought about having disability insurance for yourself? If you're skiing or doing something and accidentally break a leg, can you work? So it is a way for income replacement. There's business overhead insurance. You can do like critical illness type stuff, which you would not have like through a spouse's plan that maybe has like your health and dental, like as a family rate. So it's just something to think about. It's not just like for your extended health and dental. Think of it like even like on the disability side of things. Unfortunately, we don't have those crystal balls that tell us like when things are going to happen. So it just is a way to protect yourselves. I did check with Brad the other day, and it isn't broke down like in the financial report, but the chamber actually does get like fees like from all the chamber plans. So it is revenue that is brought into the chamber itself. So last year, Brad told me that the revenue like from those that are on chamber plan brought in $13,635 like into the chamber. So it's revenue for the chamber that allows them to do like extra things like for your community, like getting involved like with all the things that hopefully we can do soon, like after the pandemic, and be able to meet like in person. So I know that Brad had mentioned like about like the Fernie Chamber like having like a strategic plan like to increase membership. So it is something that I try to help with. So if it is somebody that I am talking to like in Fernie that is interested in a chamber plan, you have to be a chamber member to get it. So it is something that I can also help with like in increasing like the membership like for the chamber and bringing on like businesses too. So chamber plan has no industry restrictions. So it's everybody is eligible. It doesn't matter what type of industry. You can be like a home-based business. You can be like a one-person firm. You could be a helicopter pilot where a lot of like insurance companies would not even look at because there is no industry restriction. And when the video had mentioned like about being pooled, like you're in like a big association plan where there's over 30,000 businesses across Canada that help like doing like pooled rates. So for businesses, you do have an option of like for the smaller firms, I do like to do plan designs that are 100% pooled. So what that means is if somebody within your group got sick or a spouse, and all of a sudden like you're paying out more in claims than what the insurance company is collecting in premiums, your rates aren't going to be affected at renewal time. So it's a great protection like for small business because you can have those guaranteed rates, and all chamber plans renew April 1st, and the average for April 1st for my block of business, which is 153 businesses like in our area that have chamber plan, and it was 1.8% was the average increase like at renewal time. So it is a wonderful plan, has some fabulous things that are outside of the box. I know the pandemic has made things change, but there is Teledoc, which is like a virtual doctor. It's available like 24/7. So it could be like a Friday afternoon of a long weekend or on a long weekend and you're hit with strep throat or your kid has tonsillitis. You can actually call in, talk to a doctor. They can diagnose like over the phone or over like a FaceTime kind of meeting and be able to fax in a prescription to the pharmacy of your choice. And you can get on antibiotics before waiting like until like Monday or Tuesday to get into your own doctor. I know that things like there's lots of things that are out there now because of the pandemic and the doctors not seeing people face to face, but chamber plan was ahead of the ball game and they had that implemented like before the pandemic even hit. So they're always trying to think of extra little things that they could put into the plan to make it more, I don't know, just better use. And one of the other things is those of us that live here, we often get referred to specialists outside of the community. You might have to go to Kelowna. I know Tom has been working on doing things like trying to get people like cancer patients or being able to go to Calgary just because of the distance. But all chamber plans, extended health plans have medical travel within Canada. So if you're referred to a specialist outside of the area, it helps like reimbursement like for travel cost. So That's a huge thing for those of us that live around here, because it's often when we have to go away, we're not living in the big city. It's your own dollar that has to get you to and from your appointments. So it's just an added little bonus that is included like on all the extended health. And for owners that have like a chamber plan, you've been an owner for at least like 5 years, like in a business, you have chamber plan like for a couple of years and you decide that retirement is on the horizon, they have a conversion option for an executive retiree plan that is second to none. When travel's allowed, you can actually have like the out-of-country emergency medical for trips that you have a choice of either 120 days or 90-day trips. There's no other conversion option out there that gives you that type of thing, and as well as the added insurance bonus and lots coverage like for prescription drugs and that sort of thing in retirement. So has some fabulous opportunities, and if anybody is interested, they can reach out and give me a call. I can, even if you just go to the website, so hadadfinancial.ca, or talk to Kalina or Brad and they can give you my contact information, and no obligation. I'm happy to do a quote. I do the quotes all myself, so we can sit down and do like a specific plan like for your business, and it can be very customizable, and there's guaranteed issue plans where there's no medical information requested, all kinds of things. So something that everybody is eligible for. So if anybody has any questions, I'm welcome to answer them, or send me a message if you want to do it like offline.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cora. And yeah, I just really want to echo those comments, you know, particularly with the pandemic and you know, like staff benefits are, you know, and keeping in mind the labor shortages as well, having these benefits to offer your staff can really be a competitive advantage when you're out there hiring and things like that. So
it's a way to retain good employees too. Like it's
absolutely
reward them for their loyal service. Like within your business, benefits are a huge thing for people. It's something that they're always looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, thank you so much, Cora. We really appreciate your time. And yeah, if anybody has any questions about the benefits plan, definitely you know, reach out to either myself, Kalina, or Cora, and we'll get you the information you need. So thanks again, Cora. We really appreciate it. And
thank you for having me.
Thank you. And certainly last but not least, I'm very excited about having the president and CEO of the College of the Rockies, Paul Vogt, is going to give a presentation for us. And I really thank you for your patience, Paul. I know we're running a little long in this meeting and I'm sure you're incredibly busy. So without further ado, Paul, the floor is all yours. Please take it away.
Okay, thanks a lot, Brad. And I really do appreciate the opportunity. And actually more generally, thanks to Brad and many others who have really made the time to, you know, it's a difficult time in COVID to arrive and get to know a community, but people have been very welcoming and really gone out of their way, and included Brad. And by the way, for the record, I did laugh at your mushroom joke. Well, I groaned first and then I laughed. I've also been able to talk to, actually I see a lot of people on the screen, you know, Tom Shapitka, Mayor Ange, and Michael, really good discussions about, in fact, a lot of the things that Brad talked about in the strategic plan, and where I can see a real role for the college to partner in support of Fernie initiatives. I have to say too, it's obviously helps the college a lot that we have Anita as our campus manager. And by the way, congratulations, Anita, on the completion of your term as chamber president. And of course, we also have Randall as our board chair. And just recently, or within the last year since I arrived, Nick Milligan has joined our board as well. So I realize that we're in overtime, and I'll race through my deck a bit. So maybe it's easier to actually give the punchline first, is that, you know, we operated in full all of our programs, and in fact, we're able to undertake some innovations through the COVID period. Some of those innovations and some of the feedback we've received are now going into a plan for the recovery period. And the main takeaway that I want to leave you with is that, you know, having talked with a lot of people about specifically the challenges to Fernie in the area, we want to be a partner. We realize that that there's many things that the community wants to take on and are very important to local businesses, and I think we feel that the college can make a significant contribution to all of those. So we have a 2-year plan, but I'll go through it very briefly at the end, and maybe just as an enticement for people to come in, stay on, you know, for the 5 minutes. I'll end with a catchy little video that we've produced recently to promote the college, you know, largely based on this spectacular setting that we're happy to be part of. So let me start. We have if we can do a screen share. I think Susan has a deck that, as I said, we'll go through fairly quickly, but I'll leave the message now. That happy to you know, to answer any questions or your emails afterwards. So first of all, the territorial acknowledgement. All 7 of our campuses are located on the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa and home of the Shuswap and the Métis, and we're very grateful for that fact, and also very proud of the partnerships we're developing. Recent events, the biggest one is the announcement that we were able to make that we are returning in full to campus in the fall. Our Fernie campus remains closed to the public, but we have been delivering face-to-face learning in a safe way through COVID, and we will be reopening in the fall. We've also been able to continue with some of the important events that we have virtually, our open house, our career fair, and in fact, we've actually discovered that we were able to extend our reach to well outside our region and even outside the province by doing it that way. And I think that's one of the things we've learned to do during COVID that we'll be continuing in the future. So across the college, as I mentioned, all of our programs have been kept going. A lot of people have asked how that's gone. We had to prioritize which programs could be done face-to-face so that we weren't bringing a lot of people into our campuses, but with the trades, healthcare, and so on, we were able to do that with by putting virtually, or putting all of the other courses online and teaching virtually. So what that meant actually is that our domestic enrollment slightly increased for our core programs during this past year. And for obvious reasons, our international enrollment dipped a little bit, but we do expect it to rebound in the coming year. And the thing that I think we're most proud of is that we kept our feet moving on planning for the future. We built new housing at our Cranbrook campus, and in discussions with people in Fernie, you know, that's a model that we were willing to look at for other communities and partner with other developers for. We introduced several new programs. One of them was actually an autonomous technology program that we designed with tech for the operation of vehicles in mining operations autonomously, but very extensive applications in lots of areas. We also delivered a leadership program virtually through all of our campuses, and a financial services program, which is brand new, relating to the last presentation. And we've also been able to develop to start next year a dual credit program, so that grade 12 students in all of the communities that we served will start to be able to take credits towards ECE, teacher's aid, health aid programs that they can then continue after grade 12, but with a lesser credit requirements, so people can start their careers in high school. And we put an emphasis on high demand occupations for that. The most important thing, I think, is that, and I think we may be we may be frozen on our slide deck, so I hope we can get to the in Fernie, actually, yeah, at the Fernie campus, we've actually been able to, as I said, keep all of our programming going. All of our adult education programming, our safety programming, we did it either virtually or on site as required. And of course, a program that we're particularly proud of is the Mountain Adventure Skills Training Program. We've counted now, we've introduced at least 400 people who are nature and adventure lovers to a career path that aligns with their passions. Since we started this programming, we're full up most years. We're actually already full for the coming year, and that's a program that draws people into the region. And many of them, of course, stay in the region, make their careers here from all over Canada and beyond. Quite a few international students who come to Fernie for that program. So as I said, new housing spaces, and if we can continue on with the slides, I got a little bit ahead of them. New programs that we're developing. And I think most importantly, onto the next slide, that we started planning for the next 2 years. We know that a 5-year plan is a standard for many organizations, chambers, or for post-secondary organizations, but we really think that we are entering a very critical period, which is going to have different needs. And we began with an extensive set of surveys. We got over 100 responses from external stakeholders. And what we were told is that there's anticipated to be, through the recovery, a surging demand for skilled workers. Obviously, Fernie knows all about this, particularly in the construction trades, health, IT, education, ECE, throughout the region, but in certain areas, a real concentration because of the strong resurgence in tourism and hospitality for workers in those areas as well. We also got a lot of feedback that there's a demand across all areas of employment for technological literacy and also for fast upgrading on technological skills, and a growing need for mid-career options for people to make workforce transitions or to upgrade in mid-career. The final point that came across very strongly was a desire for the college to play more of a hands-on role, particularly supporting small and medium-sized enterprises with the needs to revisit their business models or adapt to new technologies with an eye on the new realities of the recovery. So as I said, in response to that, we've developed a 2-year action plan. I'll go over this very quickly, but I can assure you we will be sending a large number of copies of these to Brad, and they'll be available to chamber members. But it's based on a very memorable mnemonic, Ready, Set, Go. Ready is kind of like the chamber plan that Brad just went over. It's organized in pillars. Ready is the pillar that prepares the college for the needs of what we think is going to be a very fast changing workforce, and therefore very rapid change in the kind of curriculum that we have to offer, with an eye, of course, to our key partners, and with also an eye to the tremendous opportunity we think we have to promote College of the Rockies on the basis of our setting and the opportunities that will be opening up and already are opening in this region. The second pillar is an emphasis on what we need to do to prepare students for the 21st century workplace. So tremendous emphasis on technological literacy, as I mentioned, but also on providing a truly resilient graduate and being that option for workers at all stages of their career. And then finally, the last pillar, which is Go, is that element that stakeholders asked us about, which is the college's role in providing leadership and really hands-on support to employers within our community, and also to be a leader in promoting. I noticed the presentation from Pride. I know there's a huge desire for the community to set a standard of safety, respect for all people, regardless of background or any other characteristics, and that's a role that we actually see within the college and a role that we need to play outside the college. So thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to end, as I promised, with a quick video. And I'll say just beforehand, because actually we found out we were considered a nonprofit and we can get some public service advertising. We've actually been able to show this video across the country, including it got on CNBC at the time of the Trump impeachment hearings. And so we got a tremendous boost in our exposure, and actually as a result in our open house, quite a few people drawn to our college. But anyway, I'll let that roll. And as I said, happy to answer any questions or emails that you have after this. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Paul, for that. And shout out to Susan there working the slide deck as well. Thank you for that. If anybody, realizing we have gone over time, if anybody has any questions for any of today's presenters or any feedback, comments, or questions about anything you saw today, you can reach me at brad@ferniechamber.com, and I'll be sure to sort of direct you to the right person. But I just wanted to thank all of you for taking the time out today. I know Zoom fatigue is real. I experience it every day, and I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to join us this morning. We do apologize for the technical glitch with not streaming onto Facebook, but we have recorded this meeting. We'll upload it onto Facebook so folks can watch it after the fact. But before I go, I just wanted to once again just give a big thank you to the sponsors of today's AGM. Once again, that was Birdhouse Roofing, Patty's Party Tent Rentals, Kukanusa Lake Campsite and Marina, as well as our community builder members, Island Lake Lodge and the Fernie Fox Hotel. So thank you very much to those organizations. Thank you very, very much to both the outgoing and incoming board. It's been one of the great joys of my professional career working here with you folks, and so I really appreciate the support, and onwards and upwards, everyone. So thank you so much, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.